Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All the students, thank you so much. Okay, macam biasa malam ni slot untuk kaunselor bersama dengan pelajar. Jadi hari ni cikgu bawakan kamu slot motivasi oleh bekas pelajar kamu sendiri, senior kamu. Dan hari seterusnya juga setiap malam Selasa pukul 9 sampai pukul 10 kita akan ada slot Kena ingat benda tu. Alright, so tak nak buang masa, cikgu nak serahkan slot ni pada Hazim Iman bersama dengan speaker. Alright, so kalau ada apa-apa kamu boleh tanya sebab ni je dah waktu kamu boleh tanya pada speaker. Bukan senang cikgu nak uruskan benda ni, kita nak uruskan benda ni. So boleh tanya. Alright. Okay, so Hazim, let's do it.
Okay. Thank you very much Cikgu Aisyah. Cikgu kaunselor dulu dekat typing. Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good evening to all of you watching live from ANSARA Typing, especially the students who are facing SPM this year, and not forgetting to all who are watching at home. I hope everyone's in good health and don't forget to stay at home. We are in this in battling COVID-19 together, inshallah. Okay, before I begin, my name is Hazim Iman. I'm an ANSARA Typing as well, batch SPM 2018, and I will be your moderator for this session entitled Effective Study Tips Just for You. Okay, the speaker that will be joining us today will be Miss Natasha Alia Muhammad Razman from SPM batch 2017. She currently pursuing her study at Queen Mary University of London College, England, in Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery. A medic student lah kan, in a simple word. Okay. She attained a scholarship from MARA, where she pursued her IB or International Baccalaureate in College MARA Seremban and graduated with flying colours, which is 43 out of 45 points. She also managed to achieve straight A's in her SPM alongside other accomplishments as well in curriculum, such as joining the school debate team and joining few other inter-school competitions. And she even managed to grab the runner-up prize in Inter-MRSM Debat Malaysia. Okay. That's not the end of it. She also achieved runner-up in Public Speaking Language Week MRSM Malaysia Northern District, and it shows how great Miss Natasha Alia is, right? Okay, additional information for the students and people who are watching at home. Participants who are watching live from Zoom can ask any questions regarding our session today at the chat room, or you can even raise your hand to ask straight away to the speaker. And there will be a Q&A session at the final 15 minutes of this session. All right, thank you very much for your cooperation. And without further ado, let me invite the speaker for today, Miss Natasha Alia. Please welcome.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. I'm Natasha Alia, but you can just call me Alia. I am batch SPM 2017 and a first-year medical student at Queen Mary University of London. So I'll be sharing with you study tips and briefly just talk about stress management. And don't worry about the slides link. I put at the bottom of the screen, there's a link to the slides. So you guys can simply download the slide later on if you guys want. So basically, I'll just a summary of what I'll be talking about. So first, I'll be talking about what to do before you start studying. And then how I studied for SPM according to subjects, including things that I did wrong and mistakes that I did so that you don't do the same mistakes as I did. Research proven study techniques and general study tips, and a bit about stress management during studies, and last sekali, contact info kalau siapa-siapa nak contact further. Okay, so first things first, things to do before studying. So the first thing to do is make sure you motivate yourself and betulkan niat. The reason I say this is walaupun benda macam ni nampak macam benda kecil, sebenarnya it's very wrong for you to study semata-mata sebab kita rasa oh kena study. There has to be a reason kenapa you nak study. So before you study tu, remember kenapa you're opening this book tu is because this is the reason why. So it could be sebab nak banggakan parents ke, sebab nak prove yourself worthy ke, or macam nak gain self-confidence ke, ataupun for the sake of nak dapat better opportunities untuk scholarships ke. So all of that has to be considered right before you study. Sebab if you buka buku semata-mata sebab rasa macam oh kawan study, aku pun kena study, it's not going to really be as effective as you think it is, because you rasa macam you tak rasa macam as motivated to push yourself untuk study even more. And then of course at the end of the day it's untuk Allah lah, but these are all additional factors untuk push you even further in your studies. Okay, then second is to find the right study space. Research has shown that the environment can affect a student's academic progress by 25%. And 25 tu sebenarnya banyak sangat, considering contohnya if we study 4 hours, lepas tu basically 25% is actually 1 hour out of the 4 hours. Sedangkan 1 hour tu you boleh guna untuk rehat, have a nice nap ke, or de-stress, basically call your parents ke, anything yang more relaxing than wasting your time through ineffective studying. So personally, I prefer tempat yang macam senyap, and I do not like to be surrounded by too many people sebab I tahu there is a very big tendency untuk bersema dengan kawan, and that is very wasteful of time tau. And what I also think is not really good is if you duduk in a place where it's definitely noisy. But if you feel that you memang jenis, you can put that aside and you're not bothered by it, then it's fine. Tapi it's best to stay in a place where tak banyak bunyi masuk your brain basically. It will distract you. And then the next thing is to put aside your phone. Pasal ni, I'm sure that we're all guilty of macam setakat alah, check phone seminit je, check phone 2 minit je, 5 minit je, tapi last jadi sejam. So I think checking phone ni memang a very, very big culprit lah, phone ke, iPad ke. So what I would recommend is I use 2 methods untuk stop myself from playing my phone while studying. And the first is through a productivity app. So if you see at the corner of the screen, there's 2 apps called Focus Plan and Forest. So 2 app ni kan macam memang very useful for me because you boleh letak timer. And timer tu will stop you from using any other app in your phone. So if you do exit your phone, you akan kena macam denda in this app. But if you complete the timer, you dapat water. Basically macam water drops to plant plants. And the best thing about this whole app is basically you actually plant real plants. So it's actually planting for charity through the time that you study. And so I think it's really, really productive for me. They also have a Pomodoro timer. And satu tu free, the bottom one is paid. But it's really worth it. I would suggest just give it a go and try and see if it works for you because it really works for me. Aside from that, masa I was in MRSM, what I would do is I akan bagi my phone or my iPad ke dekat kawan untuk simpan sampai habis waktu prep tu. Sebab I tahu if I letak phone tu kat tepi, mesti akan macam, alah tengok kejap je. Tapi last main lama. So I think if you rasa macam you cannot resist yourself, it's best that you give your phone to someone so that orang tu boleh jagakan sekejap and avoid you from playing your phone all the time while studying. So you betul-betul focus on your studies. Okay, and then next is to clear your mind. This pun I rasa is also very important because contohnya bila you're distracted with something else in your mind, like you have other issues happening. Contohnya you baru habis gaduh dengan your mom and it's making you really sad. Ataupun you gaduh dengan kawan and it's making you stressed. So clearing your mind is very important before you study because I feel like if you do while you're studying and you have a problem, you akan subconsciously think about that thing. And lama-lama tu sebenarnya your study tak jadi effective sangat pun. So if say you're really, really stressed, for example, macam memang rasa tertekan sangat-sangat, you don't study now. You should get up and go have a walk ke, have a chat ke, minum coffee sikit ke, just to macam de-stress sikit je. And that way at least your brain dah macam, your mind dah clear sikit untuk be able to isi more information. Because sekarang ni your mind serabut dengan macam-macam information that is happening around you. So it's best that you clear out whatever priorities you have, whatever macam issues you have with other people ke, or macam kalau you tengah stress ke apa, memang it's best to clear that first baru you start study. You want to study with a clear mind. And then lastly, you want to make sure that you doa. There are so many doas out there, and but I also want to say that kalau you rasa macam you're not religious, berhak ke aku macam nak berdoa, and you feel like it's not working for you, what I would say is, even if you feel like you're not religious, you doa juga, because you never know if Allah nak grant your wishes, and you never know if you continuously make it a habit, lama-lama kan, it's very likely that your hati akan macam ikhlas untuk macam actually mean what you doa. So just berdoa je, even if you feel like nothing's going to happen from it, or even if you feel like you tak se-religious other people, even if you feel like you don't deserve to doa. So in the next 2 slides, I've shared 2 additional doa that I like to read, in addition to the standard doas that we always read in class. So this one is dua for studying something difficult to make things easier for you. And in the next slide, we have doa untuk study things that require hafalan. And don't worry if you missed this. It's in the slide. The link is down there. It's tinyurl.com/Alia says don't stress. It's a bit cringy, but okay. We can move on to the next. Okay, so this is basically how I studied for SPM. And of course, not all these tips will work for you. This is just what I think works best for me, and I've seen works best for a lot of people, especially people yang around me yang score. So the key of everything is to study smart and not study hard. So my biggest mistake masa MRSM tu is because in MRSM kan everybody studies really, really hard. And you rasa, sometimes you tengok ada je yang macam relaxnya dia, kenapa dia score sangat-sangat? Macam mana dia boleh score betul-betul, score teruk gila? So macam kita rasa macam how is it possible that kita study lagi banyak tapi orang tu lagi score? And the only answer is basically orang tu study smart and not study hard. And that's what I think is the key to studying everything, because I made that mistake. I studied I studied like 8 hours a day macam tu, tapi still somehow macam I was still lacking in classes sometimes. Okay, so without further ado, I will sambung with subject specific tips. So first is BM in English. The first tip I have is to master the grammar / tata bahasa rules through lots and lots of exercise from past year papers and reference books. Benda macam ni, it's hard to just skip, because memang through practice you will just get these rules more familiarly, macam they're more familiar to you, and you will eventually get the patterns better. So memang there's no running away from it, you just kena buat exercise banyak. And then a second tip I have, which I find quite effective also, is to practice reading as much as you can during your free time to improve vocabulary. And this is through either online articles or novels. But I understand that in MRSM, susah juga lah nak cari masa untuk baca novel kan. So I understand that. So I would recommend another app called Flipboard, which is really, really, really good, especially if you want to improve your English. Sebab Flipboard ni is basically an app where you can tailor what topics you like. Contohnya, you suka politics, you suka economics, you suka Malaysian news, and you also like music. So every single macam hour, I think, they can refresh a set of articles from lots of different websites like The Guardian, New York Times, The Star pun sometimes, and you akan boleh baca within that same app. So what I like to do was, because I was in the debate team before, I also wanted to stock up on my vocabulary, my general knowledge. And what I did was I can baca 5 minutes before every class. And 5 minutes tu nampak macam sikit je sebab baca satu artikel je pun. But imagine if you read 5 articles in 5 days. So that would be like basically reading about 30 articles in 30 to 40 articles in a month, you know? If you read like 2 articles a day ke, and it's just 5 minutes a day. You're only spending about 5 to 10 minutes a day, and you'll be surprised at how much it will help improve your vocabulary, boleh improve you punya sentence structure, your grammar. And the best thing about Flipboard is that sometimes even websites yang kena bayar, diorang dah kasih free access, which is really good. So just try to spend like 5 minutes. And then this is my most, I think, personally, I find really, really effective is to do additional essays and ask teachers to mark. have a funny story about this actually. I was really bad at BM penulisan. And there was a point in time, masa pre-trial ke the exam before that, I almost failed. Bukan failed lah. I actually got 50, macam tu lah, borderline 50. And that was really bad. Sebab my classmates semua pandai and they all got like 80 plus. And I was the only one who got really, really bad. So obviously rasa macam malunya, kecewanya. And then Cikgu Sharina, my very, very good BM teacher, she called me after class and she said she was very worried about me and we were trying to find out macam mana nak improve. So she decided to, of course I was crying. It was really sad. Sedih kan macam sebab takut tak score SPM kan. Tapi and then Cikgu Sharina tu decided to give me soalan every single week. Then kasih satu essay soalan and I buat. Hujung minggu tu I akan submit essay tu kat Cikgu Sharina. Cikgu Sharina akan mark. Next week tu I akan dapat feedback. And in addition to that one, because time tu dah nak dekat dah SPM, so I was really worried. So I did an additional essay question untuk Cikgu Sharina. And I also did it for English. Just in case, sebab I don't want to get too macam confident about that too. So what I did was I hantar kat cikgu bagi marks kan, cikgu mark balik. And from that, I actually managed to improve very, very much. During trial and an exam in between too, I managed to get one of the highest scores in my class. And for SPM and trial, I got an A+. And that's a very big jump compared to dulu paling rendah to one of the highest scores in my class and dapat A+. And this is all macam thanks to how dedicated cikgu-cikgu are. And I think it's very rugi lah kalau cikgu-cikgu dah ada and cikgu-cikgu semua very, very knowledgeable, very rajin, and it's all that's left is that for you to approach cikgu and ask for help. Especially untuk subjek macam language macam ni, kita selalu macam take for granted. Even like English pun. Sedangkan I think personally, I also think that English is quite hard. So don't hesitate to do additional essays and don't hesitate to ask teachers to mark because it was really, really, really effective. You memang nampak application of your knowledge in those essays and it was really good. Okay, moving on to maths. So for maths and what maths, this is actually my weakest subject. My mistake was that I tried to hafal the concept, hafal the patterns. Macam mana nak buat soalan style macam ni, macam mana nak buat soalan style macam ni. But I never understood kenapa equation ni jadi macam ni. Kenapa equation tu, this side kena gerak sini, this side kena gerak sini. I never understood that and that was my mistake. So I ended up getting an A- for maths. So my recommendation is to always make sure you understand concepts and not remember how to. So when you're unsure of something, you kena make sure you faham 100%. Either you jumpa cikgu or you jumpa kawan yang memang tahu macam mana nak explain. And you can understand kenapa the formula, how the formula works, why it's like that, why the problem is solved that way. So that daripada you macam hafal how to do the questions, in SPM bila dia tweak je soalan tu, dia pusingkan sikit je, you still can jawab. That was my mistake because for macam contohnya derivative tu, I was really weak at that. And all I did was hafal how to do, oh kalau nampak macam ni, hafal, oh step dia macam ni, which is wrong. Because bila SPM dia tukar je soalan, I dah blur, I don't know what to do. And then the next thing is to practice. And of course, once you dah biasa practice and get the questions, you time yourself so that you make sure you can answer everything within the time allocated. I had friends yang bila buat soalan dalam kelas yang tak ada masa, yang tak ikut masa, pandai je jawab, but it takes them too long. So when it comes to the exam, they're not able to answer the questions in time. And that's why they lose marks because memang just tak cukup masa walaupun yang dah siap tu betul. Okay, so with the next subjects. Okay, sejarah, Pi and Bio. This one, I would first recommend to familiarize with the format of questions and how to answer. Contohnya macam sejarah, kalau dia listkan huraikan 2 contoh something, boleh ke tak kita tulis 3? Boleh ke tak kita tulis 4? So all that you kena tahu because there are techniques to actually get extra points in case that your jawapan kat atas salah. So just take like 5 minutes ke sebelum class maybe, tengok balik format dia, or this is how I'm supposed to answer the questions. If you're not sure, tanya je cikgu. And then do not study these last minute, obviously. Sebab soal sejarah, Pi and Bio ni kan subjects yang very heavy on memory. So it's really, really hard untuk sumbatkan everything in your brain last minute. Memang it's impossible. Your brain is just not designed that way. And then explain it back to yourself. So this way, this is actually a sort of way untuk buat something called active recall. And lastly, this is a tip that a lot of medical students use, which you know, for medicine, there's a lot of macam menghafal kan. The syllabus is very big. So it's called spaced repetition and active recall. So dua ni is research proven study techniques yang memang banyaklah study techniques, and a lot of medic YouTubers talk about it and memang swear that it works. So what is active recall? So active recall is basically testing yourself to make your brain be forced to pull out information. And doing so will make your body remember it better as important information. When studying, don't just read, but you try to remember. So macam the rule is untuk make learning active instead of passive. You tak nak bila you buka buku sejarah, you baca je, because it's not going to work. You're literally just reading words and it's coming in through your masuk telinga kanan, keluar telinga kiri. So it's useless. You're just wasting time and you're not going to retain that information. So active recall ni is like you baca buku sejarah, you baca properly, you tutup buku sejarah tu balik and you test. Okay, what happened in 1957? Okay, apa jadi masa Portugese jajah ni? So all of that will actually help you remember it even better. So but you're testing yourself. You're macam constantly telling your brain to be challenged, and your brain wants to be challenged. And that's how it remembers better. And then we have spaced repetition. So it's doing active recall every now and then. So spaced repetition ni, if you look at the graph on the right side here, there's this thing called the forgetting curve. That is how much you will forget eventually. And kat tepi tu on the y-axis is remembered, percentage yang you remember. So kalau you perasan, right after class, if you tak review, benda ni akan just, like I said, masuk telinga kanan, keluar telinga kiri, and that's it. But the trick to spaced repetition is to always review it at regular intervals. So, macam contohnya, right after class, you ingat about 75% je. You don't even remember the full thing, because sometimes cikgu pergi laju ke, and sometimes you macam blur sikit in class ke, and there are parts of information yang you cannot process enough and you don't remember yet. That's why if you do reviews immediately after class, or maybe like 1 hour after class ke, or that during that day, it will go, the percentage of how much you remember goes up, which is 100%. And then obviously after time, you akan start to forget. And that's why you need to constantly macam remind yourself of what you forgot. And this way, if you tengok the graph, if you see the graph, you will see that it's repeated after 10 minutes, then 24 hours, then 1 week, then 1 month. So by doing this at like larger intervals over time, it actually tricks your brain into putting the information that you just learned into long-term memory storage instead of short-term memory storage. And this works. Ni memang a lot of researchers dah try this out, and this is actually the most effective way of studying. So for me, it's better to study in small chunks instead of large chunks. Especially untuk subjek macam sejarah, Pi, Bio, it's a lot. 3 subjek tu sangat-sangat banyak. And it's impossible untuk expect dalam masa seminggu sempat nak study semua benda and ingat semua benda untuk the exam. It doesn't work like that. So that's why it's best that you pecah-pecahkan sikit-sikit daripada you last minute study 12 jam straight dengan dalam keadaan stres, dalam keadaan serabut. It's a much better macam habit if you can implement this into your life. And before we move on to the next slide, I just want to recommend this thing called Anki Web. It's something that I recently started using, but it's really, really, really good. It saves my time so much. And it's something that a lot of medicine students use. A lot of my medical school memang guna benda ni, and especially budak-budak yang perform yang top of the class. And Anki Web is basically like this flashcard platform where you boleh tulis soalan or tulis notes, and you can study them. And as you study them, you boleh rank them bad, normal, and good. So if you put it as good, the flashcards will not show up until macam maybe next week. But if you put them as normal, it will show up maybe like 3 days later. If you put them as bad, it will show up maybe tomorrow, so that you lagi senang nak ingat. Dia dah fikir dah untuk you untuk buat space repetition tu, and it tracks how much time you study. So I think that macam Anki tu is a life-changing thing for me lah. So, and it's free on the laptop, but you can bayar kat iPad. Okay. So chemistry and physics. Chemistry and physics, there's no way out from this. Memang you kena faham concepts. And you need to faham concepts betul-betul, like how gravity works and stuff like that. Because I know physics and chemistry is one of the papers yang SPM memang boleh buat as mengarut as possible and pusingkan soalan as much as you want. So, as much as they want, sorry. So memang you kena faham concept. It's not about hafal anymore for physics and chemistry. It's like at maths juga lah. Memang kena faham. And then you should also master the answer scheme styles and remember specific keywords that need to be in the answers. I remember untuk chemistry and physics, memang for definition pun, dia memang ada specific words yang memang kena dalam tu, kalau tak, tak markah. And all those things rugi sangat if you just miss it like that. Sedangkan they're easy marks, it's just that you're thinking of something else, the answer scheme is thinking of something else. You memang kena ikut the answer scheme, and that's why I would recommend, kalau boleh, you try to study as much as you can with the answer scheme. And then do practice questions, just to familiarize yourself with the format. And next, we have general tips. So this is just tips untuk like everything as a whole. Always, always, always finish your assignments and homework. Because to me, they serve as really, really good practice. Macam even if you rasa, apa benda yang cikgu bagi ni? But actually, you don't realize that it's actually really good. Even if you rasa benda tu tak ada kaitan pun dengan your SPM, for example, it actually, you'll be surprised at how it serves a purpose in the future. And then, I would also say don't waste time doing something you find ineffective. Like, for example, decorative notes. Personally, that's just what I think. I was guilty of this actually. I spent 3 hours making really, really nice notes, colorful, highlighted, color pencil notes semua. And then bila tengok balik macam I only had time to revise that once or twice because I spent so much time doing notes untuk every single subject, which was a waste of my time personally because I rasa at the end of the day, if I baca through buku dengan I buat notes je, macam both are similar to me. So if you find that making colorful notes is not effective for you, you should stop. And whatever you find not effective, do not push further for it. Even if you think, oh, it's so aesthetic, it's so nice, everybody else is doing it. If it's not effective for you, you just stop. It's just a waste of your time otherwise. And try to find something else that works better for you. And then there's also active and versus passive. And what we want is, active instead of passive. Like I said earlier, the key is active recall. Don't just read. You have to understand and test yourself. So you use a method called retrieval. You test your brain untuk ingat balik apa yang you dah belajar. And that way your brain will be tricked untuk put that information into long-term memory. And that's what we want. Kita tak nak study banyak every single thing the day before SPM. We want to remember it throughout the whole year. And then we have, and then you should use mnemonics or acronyms to remember. So for example, macam nak ingat nama planets, my very excellent mother just ordered 9 pizzas, right? Tapi benda tu may be significant for you if you suka pizza. But if you feel like you want to remember something, personally, I find what works for me is making mnemonics or acronyms yang kelakar. So for example, Hazim is my friend, right? So I say Hazim jatuh bot banyak kali. So that's a funny acronym for me to remember. And I like that because I will remember it consistently in my mind because it's so weird and out of the blue. So you make things that are relevant to your life, and that's how you will remember better. Daripada benda yang macam King Philip something, I don't know, but just try to make things that you learn as relatable as possible to you. And then in addition to that, you should also make your own analogies. Sama lah macam the same concept with the tip before. Kalau you make analogies, especially for physics macam tu, try your best to apply it to your life. Macam, oh, I buka hose ni keluar air dengan kelajuan sampai. So macam all that actually macam subconsciously helps you remember better lah. And because you apply it into your life, and that's why you enjoy learning even more. And that's why I enjoy medicine, because I know macam bila I batuk, I boleh fikir, oh, this is what's happening. Bila I rasa macam pening kepala, oh, this is what's happening. Bila I makan, this is what's happening in my body. This is how it's being broken down. But that's how I remember it better. And then a final last tip is listening to music sometimes may help. It's true that it can help you stay awake. It can put you in a better mood, but it can also make it worse because sebenarnya our brains are not designed for multitasking. They can, but untuk you belajar, selagi you dengar lyric something, you process those lyrics, that means your brain is working. And you know that as your brain is working, it's not going 100% into your studies. And that's why listening to music yang ada lyrics is not really good for studying. And I wouldn't recommend it. In fact, studies have shown that multitasking while studying significantly reduces students' ability to recall information. I know that sometimes kita suka contohnya tengok K-drama sambil tengah study kan. That doesn't work honestly because your eyes are fixated on something and you keep switching between it, your brain doesn't know what to put in. So if you do want to listen to music, I would recommend classical music or I don't know, lo-fi ke, benda yang tak ada lyrics kalau boleh. Hazim, do you have any like additional tips you think you'd recommend?
Okay, I think I have tips at the language part, BM and BI, and also a bit in chemistry as well. Okay, you guys have the access, you guys have the internet connection, you guys have the gadget in front of you. So, kalau untuk English tu, let's say you guys, korang ni adalah di average level kan. Okay, you know what makes things better kan? If you guys, okay, especially during free time lah, korang mestilah tengok Netflix, tengok YouTube, reading manga, tengok anime and such things lah, tengok movie and such things. How about you guys normalize watching the movies or watching the Netflix in using English subtitles, okay? And better you practice it until you practice it and you take the and you note the vocab ataupun tengok mana-mana bombastic yang macam ni benda ni. Catat je or ingat, and then at the end of your leisure time session tu you cari balik benda apa benda sebenarnya. Okay, this is a small thing. Some might say, alah, benda kecil pun tak payah buat tak apa. No, it's not. It's very important because if you start to normalize those things, if you start to, you know, macam getting familiar with those vocab, getting familiar with how the grammar works in the subtitles, at the end of the day, you can apply those things in your English essay. You can apply those things when you are speaking, especially when you watch English movies kan. You dengar dia cakap macam mana, dia pronounce macam mana. All those things is important. All those things, you have to absorb those things because you watch movie for entertainment. Yes, I agree. But at the same time, you need to learn something from others as well. That's how great, even that thing is a small thing, okay? So, do use English subtitles and do listen English music, watch English movies, baca manga pun, bacalah manga in English. It's just that simple. And chemistry, your teachers are waiting for you at the staff room, okay? They are prepared to answer any of your questions, okay? Chemistry is my worst subject. I mean, I get C close to D in trial. But at the end of the day, I get A because after trial, I keep on sending one essay a day. Hantar je essay, produk redox lah, apalah semua benda tu. Hari-hari hantar. Tak banyak pun. Satu soalan, satu A, satu B. Dah, tu je. Enough. It's not that big, but it's a small chunk. Macam Miss Alia said just now. It's a small thing, but at the end of the day, you are building something bigger for yourself. Okay? So that's all. That's my tips.
Yeah, I think those are really good tips. I agree with that. Okay. I think those are really great tips, and you guys should definitely take note of all that as well. Okay, and lastly, I'll just touch a bit about this because most of it will be continued by Hazim, my friend, my very good friend. So stress management. I think despite kesibukan harian dekat MRSM, at the end of the day, you kena find time to do your hobbies and what you love to do. Tapi you kena make sure you keep in mind not to overdo it. As much as you rasa macam tak nak stress sangat lah, main game je lah, tapi tak boleh main game 24 jam. You definitely have to have a limit. When you overdo something, it's bad too. So another thing I would recommend is to usually study dulu baru you reward yourself, because when you do this, it adds macam this feel good factor tau, about bila aku study, oh lepas study dapat keluar main kejap, bila aku study dapat main game 1 jam, and that way you macam tell yourself, hey, this is a reward for me studying, and it will make studying macam indirectly more appealing. And that's what we all want to do, sebab studying is not as fun as we hope for it to be. So we should try our best untuk add as much as we can, untuk make it macam more human lah, more macam best nak study, enjoyable. And then another tip is to consistently study so that you don't stress out from last minute studying before an exam. Like I said earlier, your brain cannot sumbat all that information within one night. It's impossible. Stay up lah 8 jam pun, it's not going to work. Unfortunately, this is the reality of life. You can study consistently. Then you plan your days so that you punya hidup teratur sikit, you tahu bila nak study, you tahu bila free time. And then when you have a pile of work to do, you start by planning them out and arranging by priority. I faham that in MRSM there's a lot of extra priorities. Bukan in MRSM je lah, sekolah harian ke, SVP ke, there are so many different priorities for each different school. And like for example, you have additional homeroom, you nak kena ada koko lagi, and then you ada wakil-wakil lagi sometimes, and then there's also the SRC ke, there's also additional activities that you have to do. So it's a lot, it's memang a lot, and all of this is actually teaching you to become macam better in the future untuk handle time. But you kena buat satu-satu, you tak boleh break down. Stress is fine, but you cannot break down and stress too long, sebab stressing out will only make you stress out even more about wasting time. And I just nak tunjuk this small graph here. No stress at all is also not good. You need stress to push you. So if you tak ada stress langsung, you akan bored tau. And there's nothing that is pressuring you untuk study. Kenapa aku nak kena study? There's no reason for me to. There's no stress for me to anyway. But at the same time, too much stress will make you have a meltdown, and tak ada apa-apa pun masuk dalam your brain because you're too macam everything is too clouded. Serabut sangat dengan too much stress. And that's why you have to find a balance between both. And then lastly, choose discomfort now over long-term discomfort in the future. This is something that I live by. I think memanglah masa duduk MRSM, masa duduk SVP, masa duduk sekolah, SPM is probably one of the most stressful things in our life that we would probably experience. And it's very, very uncomfortable. It's not nice at all. But you know, if you push hard enough this time, you are making an investment for yourself in the future sebenarnya. It is a short-term discomfort for 2 years je untuk trade for a long-term enjoyment in the future. You score kat sini, insyaAllah you dapat opportunities here, and insyaAllah you boleh further your career into a better, macam you see a better, brighter pathway, and that will make your life easier throughout your time. Daripada you tak score sekarang, you might lose some opportunities, and you regret that for the rest of your life, and your pathway is not as bright as you would hope for it to be. And this will definitely be explained more by Hazim. I'm just briefly talking about it, but yeah. Okay, and finally, just like a cringy quote: "It is better to try and fail than never to try at all." I think memanglah there are times that you're going to feel like, kenapa aku study banyak tapi still tak score? Aku bukannya pandai sangat. Apa point belajar? Nanti tak score juga. You cannot think that way, because if you give up halfway, you know that you yourself dah ruin your own chances. You ruin those opportunities that you could have had. Everybody is dealt with the same card sekarang ni. And if you give up now, orang lain will grab the opportunity too. And you might just lose out because you decided to give up. At least if you do berusaha, you try as hard as you can. If you still fail, or if you don't get exactly what you want, that's fine, because you have done all you can. There's literally nothing more that you can do, but just redha dengan whatever rizki that you were given with, you know. And that's what I also live by a lot. I'm trying to teach myself to be more redha with everything as well. But at least you try. Daripada you tak cuba langsung, you memang tak even bother nak grab a chance or even try to grab that chance. And in the future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, down the road, you akan menyesal knowing that I never tried this out. Kenapa my friends who tried it out actually succeeded? Maybe if I had tried that out as much as they did, I would have gotten it. And that's why I think cuba juga, even if you rasa you fail, you akan fail ke apa. So if you feel like, oh, you nak join BWP, if you feel like you nak join, you nak ambil an extra additional subject ke in the future, if you minat, then go ahead, just try. Or if you rasa macam studying just waste your time because you tak score juga, no, you kena try juga because it's a waste. It's a waste of opportunities because you're already in a very good school with very, very good teachers with very conducive environment untuk belajar. So that's what I want to say. Don't give up. And finally, if anybody wants to contact me, I'm available on Instagram, a very informal platform, Facebook as well. And the slides are, Alia says, don't stress. I'm sorry it's so cringy, but I couldn't think of anything else. And I'm open for any questions if anyone wants to ask.
Alright guys, Q&A session. Okay,
Cikgu nak tanya
silakan.
dulu. Okay. Cikgu nak Alia beritahu dekat student dekat junior. Kan? What is your biggest challenges when you was in typing and how you face that challenge?
What is my study schedule?
No, what is your biggest challenge?
Oh, biggest challenge in typing. I think saya rasa masa kat typing tu, the biggest thing is time management lah. Macam in typing especially is a very academic, is very vigorous tau untuk academics and it pushes you very, very much. And saya selalu rasa macam despite that still tak cukup masa untuk study. And in addition to that, I although I wasn't part of BWP, I was still part of EMC. I was still part of the debate team. I was still part of the public speaking team, and it was still for me a lot of responsibilities. And I think time management memang macam it was really, really hard lah. Tapi I also think that sebabkan typing juga, that challenge actually pushed me untuk be better untuk time management, which I have been able to bring into my following in my college, which is IB. And sekarang pun I still use all those macam practice lah kat typing for time management in university, which has helped me, especially because I'm a medical student semua. Tapi memang time management is hard lah in typing, especially bila you ada banyak priorities macam like I said earlier, homeroom activities, you have a lot of responsibilities untuk your clubs, lepas tu still ada wakil-wakil, lepas tu ada extra macam events like unggah, benda macam tu. So it's a lot, memang it's a lot lah. Itu memang the biggest challenge for me. Because kalau duduk macam sekolah harian, I can choose to balik rumah and I can choose to just rehat and have my own time. But in MRSM, I had to follow the schedule as it is. I cannot duduk kat dorm just nak study. It's not fair for other people. And that's what I struggled with most. Other questions? I'm bad at time management. What is your advice? I think for me, I really, really like planning. So I have a planner all the time. Everybody in my batch will know that I have a planner. And I suka buat macam every single day, I dah tulis in the morning or the night before, apa yang nak buat esok. And I make sure benda tu taklah melampau. It has to be realistic. So I cubalah buat macam okay, esok satu topik bio, satu topik chemistry, satu topik maths. Lepas tu dah, itu je. But I make sure that I finish juga benda tu. Nak tak nak I habiskan. And after benda tu habis, baru I spoil myself. Macam with bersukan ke, with tapi tak bersukan sangat lah. Tapi I used to play the piano dekat the Dewan. That is my method of de-stressing. I would read a novel yang I suka. I would watch a movie with my best friends, macam tu lah. So I think macam you just gradually get better at time management. But typing is a really good place untuk you. MRSM is a very good place untuk you belajar lah everything, because you can belajar jadi independent. And the only way I can say untuk improve your time management is planning and disciplining yourself. Nak tak nak, that's why I said earlier pasal motivation tu. Motivation helps you discipline yourself, and that's why you can establish balik, why am I doing this? And you plan betul-betul, you cuba ikut as much as you can. Do not do anything else before that plan, before what you plan. Sebab kalau you cakap macam, alah main game sejam je, main game 2 jam je, tengok-tengok yang study tu, you tertinggal, dah miss dah. So I think just having a planner, if not planner pun macam, just tulis dekat sticky note, you letak kat your iPad ke meja, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do. Macam tu. So insyaAllah you'll be able to follow. Macam mana nak atasi perasaan malas belajar, and macam mana kalau saya jenis slow? Okay. I think perasaan malas belajar tu is also has to do with motivation actually. I had a phase like that juga. It's just that I stopped being macam malas nak belajar. Walaupun ada je times yang macam kurang sikit. I stopped being malas nak belajar tu because I dah tahu this is what I want in life. Unfortunately, I am aware of the realities of the world. The world is very harsh. If you rasa macam everyone in typing is smart, out there are so many smart people from sekolah harian, from sekolah SBP, trust me. And if you rasa competition kat luar sana untuk budak pandai is so tinggi, all the more reason for you to push yourself untuk jadi antara budak pandai tu. Because memang it's not like there is no opportunity untuk yang tak score, but there is definitely more and more opportunities kalau you score. And unfortunately, setakat pandai is not enough in the real world out there. So you definitely need to be more than just pandai. But if you tak push yourself untuk study, you malas nak belajar, for example, it's going to make your chances even low. Although of course, there's definitely opportunities, but kita nak maximize those opportunities as much as we can. And then you also asked about how saya jenis slow. I'll be honest, I'm not a fast learner also. I'm actually quite slow. But for me, untuk atasi that slow tu, I put in a lot of hard work. I have really, really smart roommates who study really effectively, and because of them, I start ubah my cara belajar. I start belajar more, I start study smart even more. And I was also slow, and I got really, really sad sebab I tengok macam, kenapa aku belajar 5-6 jam satu topik ni, tapi orang lain belajar 2 jam je. It really frustrated me, and it hurt a lot lah sebenarnya. It was a very big slap to my face. Tapi the only way you can overcome that, unfortunately, untuk orang macam kita ni, is just hard work. It's just hard work. Macam, unfortunately, that is the cards that you are dealt with in life, and you just have to make do with that. And macam mana nak overcome that is to put in 2 times more effort than most people do. I hope that helps. But please don't say you're jenis slow. Tak ada siapa pun jenis slow sebenarnya. Everybody can catch up sebenarnya. It's just that some people catch up faster than most people. But you can definitely be on par with them. The next question is, right now, you study online too, right? Because of the pandemic, would you like to share your routine during your online classes? What do you do after online classes? I'm currently studying in Queen Mary University of London. So I follow UK time zone, and I get pre-recorded lectures every single day. And I also have some live sessions with the lecturers. And because I follow their time zone, my classes are at night. At the latest would be 1 a.m. The earliest would be at 5 p.m. So my routine is basically I will wake up, and then I can tengok through the lectures, at least 2 a day, 2 je. Walaupun I can definitely watch more, I betul-betul nak study 2 je, because I feel like 2 is macam enough untuk I betul-betul masuk dalam otak, and I nak consolidate betul-betul that knowledge. So I study 2 lectures je a day, And then I maybe do some flashcards. I macam review flashcards for like 1 or 2 hours je, yang kat Anki tu. And then I akan rest. Throughout the whole day, I akan rest je. Sampailah malam where I join the online class. And after online class, memang I tak sempat nak review sebab dah lewat sangat. So I will review it the next morning. Next is, but I mean, it's up to you how you want to arrange. But I would recommend before you buat kerja-kerja yang macam santai, like main game, pergi sukan ke apa, make sure you finish your priorities first. Sebab you tak nak, I really wouldn't recommend staying up late. It's bad for your body, bad for your health. And kalau boleh habiskan things awal and wake up early, buat kerja-kerja awal. Next question. Sorry?
There's a question from Facebook as well.
Okay.
There's questions from Facebook as well. Okay. There's 2 questions, the same one. Can you give any good tips untuk batch 20, which is facing SPM this year, in preparing for the SPM for this critical 3 weeks?
Okay. Well, it depends on how much you dah cover material. For me, I think if you've covered the material already, it's just mostly just doing past year papers and soalan. But if I think kalau macam benda macam last minute, macam if you haven't covered it yet, since there might not be enough time to cover everything, I would recommend you buat soalan based on topic. And then for each soalan yang you dapat salah, or soalan yang you rasa macam agak-agak, kenapa option dia macam ni, kenapa option dia macam ni, you tengok, you jawab, lepas tu you buat buku tu, you tengok buku tu, that section only. So at least you get bits and pieces of information, although not completely. Sebab dah last minute kan? But if you had the time, you could read through macam nota-nota ringkas lah. But if you memang tak ada masa, I would recommend buat soalan yang bulat-bulat je, tapi like for every single thing that you're unsure of, you check, you tulis. So that it becomes your notebook. Because that's how I did it for last minute studying, and it kind of worked for me. Ada lagi ke Hazim? Any Facebook questions?
So far tak ada lagi.
Okay. What is the best time to study last year topic before SPM? Last year topic tu maksudnya the year before you're taking SPM ke macam mana? I'm not sure about that. What is the best time to study? Could you rephrase your question, please? Thank you. From Facebook, okay.
Where do you get the question?
Dia hantar direct message to me.
Oh, okay.
Best time untuk belajar. I'd say best time untuk belajar tu is bila you tak mengantuk, bila your mind is fresh. So for me, after class, I akan make sure macam I rehat habis-habis. Makan puas-puas, tidur, nap kejap ke. And then if I feel like stressed, I cakap-cakap dengan kawan sikit ke, baru I start belajar. But I don't waste too much time there. But I have to make sure that memang time tu, my mind is in the best possible place there is. Macam I tak nak time tu I tengah serabut fikirkan macam-macam benda lain. I tak nak I tengah lapar, I tengah ngantuk. It doesn't work because the knowledge is not going to enter your brain sangat. So there's no specific best time untuk study. If you feel that it works for you at night, then go ahead. If it works for you in the morning, then go ahead. If it works for you during petang pun, then by all means. But personally, I've read in a few researches lah yang optimum, macam the best time to study is like from pagi to tengah hari actually. So if you can try that during weekends, you can try that out yourself and see, do I remember information better from pagi to tengah hari, or tengah hari to petang, or petang to malam? Hope that answers the question.
There's another question. Okay. What's your opinion for those students that only study just for exams? I repeat, what's your opinion for those students that only study just for exams? Do you have any advice for them?
Only study for exam tu maksudnya macam dia study bila nak exam ke, dia study semata-mata untuk jawab exam and tak applicate dalam hidup, tak apply dalam hidup? What do you think the question is?
I think the question is about dia belajar semata-mata untuk exam.
Oh, okay. I think if it works for you, then I'm fine with that, I guess. If it works for you, especially bila contohnya you tak minat benda tu. But I do know that if you minat and if you apply it to your life, it's going to make learning 2 times easier and learning is going to be much more fun. Macam tak rasa macam a chore pun. It's something fun because you rasa you apply benda tu, and that's why I'm taking a course that I want, even though medic is like 5 years and banyak sangat benda nak hafal, because I enjoy it. Because I know bila I pandang something, oh, this is the process that's happening. Bila I tahu orang ni macam tengah muntah, oh, I boleh fikir, oh, this is what's happening in their body right now. And okay, it's a bit like weird, tapi sebenarnya I enjoy knowing about all these things. Macam bila I'm eating this, oh, this is how iron is broken down in my body. No, and it interests me, and that's why I do it. But if you rasa you study untuk exam je, but it works for you, then there's no problem in that as well. It's just that you just tak se-enjoy orang yang study untuk apply kat hidup and untuk use long term. Sorry, do you agree? Oh, Hazim ada soalan ke? Kalau tak, I'm answering this one. I answer this one first ke? Okay. Do you agree environment is okay? Do you agree environment is better than motivation? Unfortunately, kalau my environment more to playing games, can you give me some advice on how to get myself studying for SPM? That's true, actually. I can completely understand how environment will definitely implicate you punya study style. But for me, if you know that study, macam the environment around you is unhealthy, you have to get away from it. And it's fine for you to seclude yourself untuk, bukanlah seclude, tapi macam it's fine to macam not always be in the crowd if it's better for your future that way. Kalau you rasa geng-geng you jenis yang kuat sangat main game, it's fine to step out. Macam for me personally in my life, as much as I appreciate my friends a lot, but if they are also dragging me down, macam it's also important to say that to them. Just tell them, hey, I need to study. So I think macam it's about choosing your priorities. You nak main game and jaga hati diorang, or you nak fikir pasal future you, but you say it nicely to them. Macam unfortunately, you just have to step out of that environment and find time and space away from the area. Contohnya kalau kawan-kawan you main game masa prep, and I know this happens. I know this happens antara budak typing juga sebab dapat iPad tu. But the best way, you pergi je library. You pergi je kelas lain. You pergi je berkawan dengan orang yang suka study. It's really, really good actually if you find friends yang memang akan push you to be better. And actual friends actually push you to be better. Like if they actually care about you, diorang akan memang ajak you untuk, bukanlah ajak study, but they will make sure that you pun berjaya. So you don't want to be dragged down in that way. Just do everything in moderation.
Actually, it's about how you control yourself.
Okay. Betul?
Discipline.
Yes.
It's also discipline.
To be honest, okay, this is my life experience typing lah. Saya ni seorang yang kuat sangat main game, memang sangat-sangat kuat, especially during weekend. Jumaat malam tu, sometimes until 2 to 3 AM, I play games, watch movies. But you know how I control myself? After I play those games, I study. Orang lain dah tidur, my friends semua dah tidur, my circle, yang main game sekali tu kan, main game online sama-sama, semua tidur, but at that time, macam, you know, it's hard to overcome the kemengantukan tu kan, the sleepiness kan. And also, you look to your friend and they slept already happy and dah main game, but you know, I think about the future. I think about what will happen to the future if I keep on doing like this. I play games, but I sleep and doesn't control myself. So, what I did, it's a slow process, but it's a step by step lah. Mula-mula lepas main game tu, study like setengah jam until 4:30 AM ke macam tu, and then I slept. And then dah lama-lama you dah hilang interest untuk main game tu. Sebab you fikir study is more important than games. Study is more important than lepaking with your friends, especially in this final year. Okay, you can enjoy your life with your friends. You can enjoy together, laughing together in the class as well. But you also need to think about yourself. Okay, you need to be a bit selfish in this matter. Bukanlah selfish dalam kedekut ilmu, tak. Tapi selfish untuk membawa diri anda semua ke future yang lebih baik dengan tidak melibatkan diri anda dengan perkara yang lawa semata-mata. Macam tu. Okay. Okay, do control life. If you play games, okay. it's not that bad, but control. Okay, if you play sports really, like really hard, it's okay. Just play. That's your coping mechanism. That's your
in moderation.
yes. That's your coping mechanism. Kan stress kan SPM semua. It's okay. But everything is in moderation and everything is not overdo lah. Jangan overdo semua dulu. Okay. So that's my advice lah. Okay, and then there's a question. Miss Alia, do you have any surah yang you selalu amalkan back then during school or even sekarang lah kan?
There are, I actually stumbled upon this macam tweet back in 2015 yang this girl yang memang berjaya dekat university in US, I think. She read a different surah every single day, and ada Ad-Duha, ada surah Al-Waqi'ah, Yasin, and then there's surah Kahfi, and then there's also I can't really remember, but now I just mix it up. But it's basically those 4 surah lah most of the time. I can actually include that in the slides nanti if anyone wants. I can just masukkan that gambar nanti. But usually I read that lah after I cuba baca a few, macam I pecah-pecahkan ayat throughout the whole day. And then by Isyak tu dah habis the surah dah. Nanti I akan masukkan in the slides. Okay. How do you handle peer pressure back in typing? There's definitely peer pressure also, macam especially if you pegang, for example, jawatan, especially for BWP lah. I can't really relate because I'm not a BWP. And there's also peer pressure to be smart, right? Sebab in typing macam everybody expects you to be smart, and it's really hard. It's something yang really painful also. There was a time yang physics I teruk, and I went into like group kelas malam yang untuk yang a bit lower scores, and it really macam hurt my motivation lah juga. But that was what I did was I converted all of that pressure into productive activity. It's fine if you want to give, I'm macam my mindset is it's fine if there's peer pressure, because I rasa macam even more challenged untuk macam, you know what, I can prove you actually. I just might be able to macam achieve that sebenarnya. So it doesn't have to be peer pressure. It can also be turned into your motivation. But if you don't achieve it, that's also fine. Macam you can faham that you're not here to puaskan hati orang. At the end of the day, you tried your best and that's enough. And all teachers want in typing is for you to try your best. Tu je. Macam you don't have to, it's not a syarat for you to always be on top of class. Teachers just wanted you to try. So that's how I handled peer pressure. I converted it into productive energy. Yeah. Oh, sorry, there was a question earlier pasal yang recalling Form 4 subjects tu kan. I forgot about that, sorry. You should start, when should I start recalling balik topics from Form 4? I would recommend untuk start recalling topics from Form 4 actually sekarang. Like while you still have the chance. Sebab sebenarnya bila you habis Form 5 je, terus akan masuk past year papers. And time tu lah baru nak terkedik-kedik belajar Form 4. It's very time consuming lah. And I would recommend you belajar sikit-sikit, especially in the time yang macam cuti or masa macam you rasa, oh dah habis dah study untuk Form 5 yang tengah belajar sekarang. So I have extra time yang dah keluarkan stress dah pun, dah release stress semua. So extra time ni guna je lah untuk baca like one small topic Form 4. Little by little benda ni akan collect. And tengok tak, you dah habis dah pun cover Form 4. And I especially I enjoy doing maths Form 4. And if you nak, you boleh buat latihan je, just untuk macam bagi you like, just tap bits here and there of Form 4 syllabus before you betul-betul baca, you know. I like doing that as well. That's a good too. The sooner you study for Form 4, the better actually. If you have extra time, just go ahead with it. I don't have any more questions.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah. If anyone has any like last questions, boleh tanya.
Aku rasa dekat FB pun tak ada dah question. So Alia, last, give some words to your juniors untuk hadapi pembelajaran cara baru.
Yeah, I sebenarnya kesian lah actually. I know that it's really tough to belajar online and macam baru masuk kelas kan cikgu diorang ke tak masuk lagi?
Baru masuk dah lebih kurang, cikgu rasa dalam lebih kurang 2 weeks dah. More 2 weeks dah.
Oh, okay. Ya, tapi macam memang it's a struggle lah to belajar online. Memang it's not the same like bila dalam kelas cikgu boleh jalan-jalan orang yang table, boleh tengok. And sekarang pun dah kena buat macam apa social distancing benda macam tu kan. It's really important, it's really macam difficult untuk tanya soalan the same way. Cikgu nak check buku, nak advice dekat-dekat macam oh macam ni sini buat macam ni. It's hard lah, but I cannot understand sampai bila-bila your struggles, because for me I just watch pre-recorded lectures and I just do my class live class yang macam go through slides juga. So I'm blessed because of that, but just know that all of this is a very good challenge for you. It's a practice also untuk you guys too, and I'm sure that if you guys overcome this, your batch will be one of the most powerful batch in like history, honestly, because there is no batch yang terpaksa tangguh study, terpaksa go through all this uncertainty bila SPM, tak tahu pun bila SPM, terpaksa face cikgu through a laptop je. This is all difficult macam situations, and since you have like 3 weeks left, memang that's make the most out of it. But also I hope korang tak be too hard on yourself lah, because it's not, benda macam ni is impacting to everyone and especially you guys. So don't macam get too angry at yourself, because as long as you try your best, it should be fine. And you know that memang your batch is really powerful for overcoming all of this. And I'm sure that a lot of like scholarships and government punya ni, diorang akan consider all these factors. Just the same way A-levels considered A-levels punya result, IBO consider IB punya results. Is going to happen. Inshallah, the scholarship bodies will definitely consider all of that. So, what you guys can do is just berusaha je as much as you can, but don't be too hard on yourself, because you guys are strong. And I wish you all the best. Also, I'm so sorry if ada salah cakap, or if I didn't answer anyone's questions, or if I answered in a very harsh way. I don't mean it that way. I'm so sorry. If you want to contact me, if I hurt your feelings, you can feel free to contact me. I'm so sorry if ada apa-apa kekurangan, and I hope that my tips, walaupun it doesn't work for everyone, it would work. It helps you sedikit.
And everything?
Sorry?
Dah selesai ke semuanya?
Also, thank you Tazim, thank you Cikgu Aisyah, thank you Fazlan, and thank you Ibrahim.
So I think that marks the end of our today's session. Alright, okay. Before I end the meeting, I would like to say terima kasih kepada guru-guru yang hadir, Puan Wahida, Puan Azila, Puan Faiza, dan especially Cikgu Aisyah lah yang sudi menemani kami dan juga conduct the student to join this event for tonight. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you guys can obtain the best one, yang paling best sekali from the speaker, Miss Natasha Alia. This is one in a lifetime chance lah kan, bukan senang nak orang share benda macam ni and all those things, and you guys pun tengah push forward untuk final, orang kata apa, this is injury time lah kan, masa kecederaan lah untuk orang. So I hope you guys can stay strong. Ingat Allah, ingat parents, ingat cikgu, hargai mereka. Pastikan you guys can ace in this year's SPM, insyaAllah.
Good luck everyone. Inshallah, okay.
Alright, so thank you so much Alia, Hazim, thank you so much. So thank you students. Kita akan jumpa lagi next week, waktu yang sama. Okay, thank you. Okay, boleh say thank you to Kak Alia and Hazim. Okay. Boleh, Fazan boleh buka suara diorang Fazan kalau diorang nak cakap. Thank you.
Oh, diorang boleh unmute.
Boleh. Unmute je dia pun tak apa. Dia nak cakap dengan biar dia. Thank you. Oh, taslim ada. Saya masuk
Thank you
lambat.
for sharing.